This tutorial is brought to you by the Sew What Box Monthly Creative Subscription Club. This month we are going to make a really fun table runner, and this is probably the most creative and free-form project that we have sent out in one of these boxes. First, you're just going to want to take one of these pieces of fabric that are in the box. Lay it face side up, so the side that you want to see when it's finished, and choose one of your extra ribbon types, and we are just going to lay them out on the piece of fabric however you want. I am going to start with this gold one and put it down along the corner here. I'm putting some pins in it to hold it in place and making sure that the ribbon is laying straight and flat and not twisted. Once I get this all pinned into place, I'm going to cut it a little bit after the edge of the fabric down here. Now I decided I want to make a curve. We can make curves as well. Just try to make sure that you're not curving too fast, otherwise the ribbon will buckle and pucker. So you have to make short little curves, just play around with it a little. I've decided that I want to bring this gold color down to the other side as well, and so I'm going to pin some of that down here. Now it's important to just have fun with this and be super creative. If you pin something and you decide you don't like it, you can always unpin it and lay it out in a different fashion. I'm going to take my second color of ribbon and just run a line right down through the entire tablecloth or table runner to kind of tie it all together. But you can make yours as decked out as you want. You can put as much ribbon on here as you want and as little ribbon as you want. Just have fun with it. Once we get that done, we need to sew this stuff on, and the way that we're going to sew this on is just by sewing up the center of these ribbons. I am starting on the fat ribbon just so that I can practice my steering, and make sure that you take out those pins as you come to them. Now on these, you do not have to reverse stitch when you start and end if you do not want to, because we will sew all the way around the entire tablecloth at the end. If you happen to have a ribbon or decoration that you placed so that both ends did not come off of the tablecloth fabric and one end maybe just stopped in the center, then you would want to make sure that you reverse stitch at that point. And I left black thread in my sewing machine so that you can tell where I was sewing when I sewed this on. If you have some of this wiggly ribbon, this is called rickrack, and you don't have to sew exactly down the center. You can just make sure that you catch most of it, and I did show you an up close about 30 seconds ago in this video that you can go back and look at too. Once you get this done, you're going to go back and take your other piece of fabric, put the right side, the side you want to see, face down so that we're sandwiching these right sides together. We're going to make sure there are no wrinkles and line up all four edges of these pieces of fabric. Make sure they're lined up really good so that we catch both ends of fabric as we go. Once we get to this end down here, we're not going to sew in between these pins. So when we start sewing, we are going to start at the pin closest to the first corner that we'll get to. Here you do want to reverse stitch. When you get to the corner, stop before you get to the end of the fabric, put your needle down, Raise up your presser foot, and then you can just pivot the fabric around to make a nice edge without having to sew off the edge and then restart again. Once we sew all the way around this piece of fabric, which is going to be your table runner, we're going to do 3 more pivots, and watch as we come around. We will end up with a hole in between those 2 pins that we talked about when we were pinning. I reverse stitched at the end, and now I'm going to stick my hand in this hole, and I'm going to grab one of these corners and just pull it out. And we're turning this table runner right side out, and once you get it all the way right side out, you're going to want to stick your hand in there and use a finger or a pencil to poke these corners out and make them really square and pokey. And once you get those poked out, all 4, we're going to go to the ironing board. Make sure that when you iron this, you iron it with the side with the ribbons face down, because we wouldn't want to melt a ribbon. Make sure that you pinch the edges so that you get that seam that we just sewed right on the edge. Look at this. See how the seam is right on the edge of where we ironed? So we're using this iron to keep that folded all nice. This end is the one that has the hole in it. So what are we going to do? We're just going to iron the one corner and then go over and iron the other corner, making sure that all these seams are lined up really good, because that will also help us have a nice pointy corner. Then we're going to fold in the bottom edge about as fat as your thumb, so about 1/2 inch or a little bit more, and then roll the top one to fold it even with the bottom one. If we hold it tight, it looks like it was sewn there, just like the other edge. Now we're going to put some pins in it to hold it until we get back to the sewing machine, and go ahead and finish ironing these edges of the seams down as you go around. Back at the sewing machine, we're just going to start sewing right before the start of that opening, and you want to make sure that you're sewing right close to the edge, so less of a seam allowance than when you were making the actual seams around the edge. That makes sure that we catch all of the stuff that we folded under. And you are going to want to reverse stitch at both ends of this. Now if you want to, you can continue going all the way around the whole table runner, and this is basically going to be a top stitch if you do it that way. This is about how close you should be. See how I left the black thread in there so that you could see where you would stitch. And congratulations, you just made a super fun table runner. I hope that you or a friend gets to enjoy that for a long time.